Is the value of the US dollar going to fall to zero? And the answer to that question is unequivocally yes. It will drop to near zero in the future. The real questions are, when does that happen and what should you do about it? And to be clear, this doesn't involve whether a Democrat or Republican is in the White House, which should never impact your investment strategy regardless of what the media or politicians tell you. The reason the US dollar will fall to near zero is because of inflation. This is a $1 bill, and it can buy $1's worth of stuff. And if inflation was zero, it could buy the same amount of stuff in the future. But at all rates of inflation, prices will rise and the dollar's purchasing power will be worth less. Not worthless, but worth less. But how much less? Here are 4 $100 bills, and each is worth $100 at today's prices. And here are 3 rates of inflation: 3%, 5%, and 7%. After 1 year at these rates of inflation, these are the new price levels, and these are the new values of the $100 bills. They all decreased in value, which we will represent by proportionally reducing the $100 bill's actual size. They all still say $100 on them, they just aren't as valuable as they were at the new higher price levels. After 4 years of 7% inflation, price levels have increased from $100 to $131, causing the dollar to lose about 24% of its value. And the $100 bill can now only purchase $76 worth of relative stuff. It takes a few more years at 5% inflation to reach the same $130 price level and to cause the $100 bill to lose a quarter of its purchasing power at that rate of inflation. And approximately 10 years at 3% inflation to experience the same level of price inflation and dollar depreciation, which is painful, but not as painful as it could be, because at the same 10-year mark, but under the higher 7% inflation scenario, prices have almost doubled from $100 to $197, which cuts the value of the US dollar in half, and a $100 bill can only purchase about $51 worth of relative stuff. At 5% inflation, the value of the dollar falls to half in 14 years, and at 3% inflation, it takes 23 years to cut the value of the $100 bill in half. So no matter what the rate of inflation, the value of the US dollar gets cut in half eventually. But let's say that you were trying to be responsible and saved $100 from your paycheck in year 1, and after 40 years of saving it, you finally decide it's time to spend it in retirement. At 3% inflation, things that used to cost $100 now cost $326. So your $100 bill lost 69% of its value, retaining only $31 of its relative purchasing power. At 5% inflation, things that used to cost $100 now cost a whopping $704. So your $100 bill lost 86% of its value, retaining a measly $14 of its relative purchasing power. And at 7% inflation, things that used to cost $100 now cost a staggering $1,497, and your $100 bill's value has been absolutely decimated, retaining only $7 of its relative purchasing power and losing 93% of its value. So that is why that at all rates of inflation, prices will rise, which will drive the value of the US dollar to near zero. But what can you do? Well, you really can't stop inflation, so the best you can do is mitigate its impact by positioning your investments to counteract it. First, you can like and subscribe to be notified of future videos to be kept informed. Second, you can make sure that you aren't sitting on unnecessary stores of cash that are silently devaluing and losing purchasing power. And third, you can contact WatchGuard Capital for a free second opinion on your or your advisor's investment strategy to see if it makes sense to partner with one of our advisors. Because time is money, and you should always invest yours wisely.